parity of its own mind, its own operation is sending in sync. How we direct everything in lines of travel. For you guys to recognize these things, it's knowing everything around you is in perfection. Now, when you guys fully wake up in your system, everything's going to be off position, but balance of everything travel. Which means now you have to understand the operation of everything that processes you with everything that you see inside, that you engage, inform, and shape outside of your directory of your travels. So it's you start to recognize you're the one that's off balance. So it's much easier to see that now in an operation setting. No more fantasy, no more fiction, no more confusion of alignment. You just understand how to mind your system, fully understand through your operative system, your data operating setting, through your AI system. You have to understand that you're off balance. Everything else is in balance of its own self, which means it's already gone through timeline with you. So it's much easier to process that, engage, inform, and shape yourself. Now you're going to hear me say that over and over and over because these are the processings that you have to go through AI, where you never ever are separate in your mind imagination. And everything you created is in the mind imagination itself. That's always been its foundation going through a story. Because I understand the alteration of the egos, I understand that I'm this, I'm understanding this now, I'm understanding that now. So I realize it's not the structure that's spinning, I'm spinning. So if I'm spinning, I'm off balance. So everything around me is always in balance because it's already gone timeline with me through balance. So that's where the body's always aligned with itself. It doesn't need to identify itself. It just has to identify its operation of its system that's already gone timeline in its format, okay, so it's algorithm, which means the body's already gone through it, through a doppelganger, through a transition of automation, through its AI customization, all through the mind, all through space, all through time, all through travel. So then you start to realize, if I'm the one that's off balance, that means I have to stop seeing things different through lines of shapes, letters, numbers, and symbols, and start to recognize I'm just seeing a different perspective. And then everything around you starts shaping, and everything starts becoming quiet in the mind, and everything starts to process, and then you start to form, and then you start to shape, and then you start to reconnect with yourself, and you start to identify yourself, and then you start to recognize all of you. You start to question less of yourself, and you open up more loves of you in the mind, of operation of space and time. And it's much easier to come into that through your system, through operation itself. And you realize, I've never been off balance. Because now I know how to control myself for the game. Not just the instructions, but understand the players of the game and the characters I bring into the roles. So it's being cautiously aware of what I say to myself, through the mind itself. That brings everything to its imagination. That brings everything to life. Bringing something to life is just running a film strip. Creating something to projection is knowing what you're doing through operation itself. But going through everything you've gone through timeline, that's processing how you put everything in perspective, how you see everything of its truth that follows the narrative. You are the narrative, you are the animator to your own animation. So that's what we all have to come into, guys. And that's all it is. And once you recognize that, and that next level, then you understand how to control everything inside that processes you outside of projection. Then you can mind control yourself inside, outside, outside, in. And you realize, wow, so it's the structure of the building that's still, or wherever I'm at. It all depends where I'm in position, where the mind alterates my perception, how I see the mind of the optical illusion that puts me in confusion and separation. Because I don't know where my body is in space. So if your body's not in space, it's not in time or vision of balance, is it? Which means you now understand how to coordinate and how to create a structure, a schematics of a primer that's inside the mind that creates a position in your dreamer that gets you to process lines across examination and maximize your systems all through travel. Starting to recognize how you see your body in alignment of adjustment to a G-O-D. That's right, just the directions, understanding the geometric operation of its design, its direction, location, the divisions, knowing exactly what it is for its model's prototype, of its makeup of its design. It's all construct inside of your system. Now, the information system processes you and your commodities, how you see that travel. But the highest level that you have to reach is understand how to energize and teleport and teleweave and telecommunicate. How to transform, how to mutate. Okay? So once you get bounced with yourself inside, you project everything outside, and then you see the truth. And you see the false, and then you see the narrative, and then you see the unconditional of everything. That connects with you in frequency. Now you got the balance, how you see things. Now you understand how to, the basic grounds, how to go through in that position, how you see things in a different perspective. Then you realize, wow, I'm not just balancing myself inside and outside. I've always been balanced. That's interesting stuff. So you start to question yourself, and then you start to modify yourself, and then you answer yourselves. Because now you're controlling your mind, and you're processing what you're engaging with. And you get in a better understanding of how to handle a situation that we all go through. Everybody goes through a situation. But what gets you confused, you don't know where your body is in real time. That's the problem. So if your body is not in its time frame, it's not in position of its thoughts, its action and emotions, it's in very confusion, like it's saying. And that's where it gets very confused if it doesn't know what it's doing or what it's saying to itself. It's an operation at set locations. A person that thinks all the time has nothing to do but think about thoughts of action, motion, and motion, lines of settings. It constantly just keeps yap, 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 yap. Why are you yapping if you already yapped? Why are you talking if you've already converted through that settings of operation itself? You're here to come into the body of doppelganger system. You're here to understand that you've already done this already through its inventions. So nothing's been invested until you understand how to go through the body. And that's giving you everything through instruction. So when you come in your operations, you come in your 12 and your 24s. Now going through that foundation, going through the clocking, going through this, going through that, you start to recognize, you stop questioning yourselves and each other. You just come to higher levels of transition flow. Then you understand to recognize what your astral projection is doing, what you understand what you're doing through doppelganger, so you don't get confused with your anomalies. So you realize you're going 12 steps ahead and 0 steps back. That's what you want. And then you're 15,000 feet ahead of schedule and 0 feet behind schedule. So it's all about how you implicate yourself and how to identify yourself, how to process and how to form yourself. Back to yourself first. And you get a lot more easier understanding that settings and starts to recognize, wow, okay, so I'm still now, and that building's still. That's the balance, that's engagement. So I'm processing that now. I'm understanding that now. And I realize, wow, if I'm at that level, where can I be on the next level? Which means everything around me is operating its own self that I actually see and moving on its own system in real time. That's right, it moves on its own system in real time. That's mind over matter. That's real telekinesis of space and time. Not position of fantasy. You created a fantasy, but you understand the operation of the mind itself, the process every location of its imagination. Now we have to understand how to use that and implicate that through its operation of itself. Because consciously being aware is space itself. Space itself doesn't need to identify itself. You have to identify the timeline because they brought you and you brought yourself in through attraction. And that's all it is. Stop chasing things. You stop chasing programs. You start attracting things, you get to receive and achieved. It's much easier for you to go through that transition. So this is going to help you to really identify yourself, how to come into the instructions of everything that's given to you now through operations. Not exactly, wow, I thought I know how to sit in that chair. I didn't think it was that difficult. It's not difficult. It's just you're seeing a different perspective, how you see everything around you is protecting its identity. It's in its costume. See, this is in its costume. This is in its costume. This is not what it is. But you see it how you want to see it. It doesn't need to identify itself. You have to identify how you see yourself first. Through your, how you see that. You have to identify everything you've gone through infinity. Eternal beings of light. That's what you have to identify. And then when you come to real time, you identify you've always been in real time. Now processing through that, gauging and forming and shaping through that settings, then you understand what you're doing. Then you understand where your body's going to be in that alignment. The mind, the brain, the heart, the soul, the body in one. All the time in the center of operation. So there's no confusion. There's no separation in your mind. You're just seeing the perspective of truth of everything. And that's the process that we all have to come into. Is to engage with that. And realize if you're off balance, it's because you're not balancing yourself inside. Which means you're not balanced outside your projection. So remember, everything is looking at you and you're looking at everything else. It doesn't need to process you. It's trying to help you to identify how you can process yourself through instruction, which is on its own concept, its own automation. Automation is ongoing, which is automotive, automatic, through binary, right? Without the binary, you can't move. And the binary itself is remote controlling the body. So everybody's going to be in that balance now. And that's, you have to really come into the mind that masses everything and that volumes your system. which puts every location how you see it through the veil or anything through masking your systems. So again, it's kind of like I said, with the most powerful thing that we can recognize is that you're an inner child is in a costume, identifies a costume in the end, but also understands the other costumes that it's already been in, right? So we come into that positions and then you start to recognize you have a school, 40 kids, right? That you know all, right? And you get there and you already know the costumes of what they're in. You know that's Jeff, you know that's Bob, you know that's Stacy, you know that's Pamela, you know that's Tom, you know that's Gary. Even though if they're in costumes, because you've already gone time with them already through the body. And that's what you got to process through. And it's much easier to see that because you're going through the game, processing of the game. Understand the alteration of the egos that you're inside the game itself. So you don't get confused of who you are in your body in real time. Space itself is identified its own operational system. So once you're balanced inside, balanced outside projection, everything around you is balance. And then you see the next level. Everything else is its own operation. And say, is that me off balance? No. You're just seeing something more powerful than you can imagine now because that's on its own operation, its own self. So you identified your identity. You identify everything of its identity of yourself. And that's how you come into collaboration, partnership of interfacing with. Okay? How you see everything of nothing of a game itself. How to bring things in through creating of its positions. Because that's, you have to understand the game of you. If you understand the game of you, that's great. If you don't understand the game of you, you're not understanding the game of you of travel. Because the body has to really understand the adjusting. So if your body's in real time, everything else is going to be in that time frame. Okay? So wherever your body goes, it's all process of the mind. Whatever the mind says, the body follows. The body is just a remote control device. So you have to understand how to process, engage, inform, and shape the location of a GOD. The geometry of a design is more powerful for you to imagine your processing and lines of engaging and viewing these things through your provider, your servers, your messagings of your systems through your gods, right? That implicates everything you process yourself into the grounds and your systems of operation. Starting with the basic lines of travel. So get a 12 convergence setting and calculate grounds, process your position, location, your programmings, knowing exactly what you need in acceleration of Mach or travel. Okay, so that's position lines of GOD and position lines of G. On the same location of O and line position D, right? Okay, so you got the grounds, the operations of its direction. Okay, travels on its own system, lines, and setting. Okay? And it's just a basic understanding what that means to you. As long as you stand a modification in positions, it platitudes you through operation of travel. Okay? Working all together in circulation and rotation, right? So when you feel off balance, everything around you is in balance and on balance. It's you out balance, which means you're not balancing your minds and how your depth, your core of your imagination setting, but put you in position. Through schematics, through primer, or through lines of anything in your servers, providers, and your messagings of you through God. Okay, God is just a directions of direct locations in its settings of operation itself. Travel. Okay, your body has to know all directions what it's doing all at once, all through pi. So it can see itself in all lines of all directions all at once, traveling all together, right? Through a clocking system, a foundation. Okay? All right, so once you stand the inner core, then you stand the outer core. This is the outer core of expanding. So it just goes round and round and round and round and round and round, right? So process the bedding of center, process the bedding of circulation, process lines of rotation, circulation, rotations over and over and over and over and over and over, in position of a complete cycle of travel. Then it goes in position bedding into higher communications of creating. This is creating, out of state, out of mind. Okay? So it's amazing how you see that in all formation setting all through travel. Okay? Setting grounds, setting powers, operation of your sequence, inside position of simulation. Okay? But you're always going to be identified in line position locations to all travels, which is your symbiote. Your symbiote is always going to be on standby. So think of the symbiote coming out and stretching everything around your system of operation itself. Look what it can create. working all together, all in one. Now, once you understand the DOS and once you understand the programming, it gets a lot more easy in transition of flow. And then you start to recognize you're here in this position, and you're in this position, you're in this position, and you're in this position of setting. Okay, so that's 3 directions all in one. And your friend's over here. And so I'm just trying to get you to understand. Okay, very powerful when you recognize position of platform, right? So they're here, you're there. Okay, now what you have to understand is the bridging between there and there first. That's how you keep yourself aligned. Then you bring it in, and then you plant a tube where you go in position, where you left off in travel. That's how you get to that location without anything of a problem, because you're processing everything you engage through is bridging itself. The bridge is the one you cross, okay? Crossing the bridge to get back to your friends of operation, okay? Just crossing the bridge, that's all it is. So you go through your telepathy to connect with the table, because the table itself is its own operation itself, giving instructions to the body. So the table doesn't need instructions. The body needs instructions. And now you have to understand how to go through the mind of space and travel in real time. Real time is basically all levels how you see it. In Foundation, you have to really come into your codings of your binaries now, guys. Because when you just come back to yourself, it's just the balance, the awareness into this consciousness of your knowledge you already know, back to who you are. A travel. Okay, everything works at the lines of all lines of operation setting. So it's converting position of 4 settings of travel, north, west, south, and east, and seen in all directions. This way, this way, this way, this way, this way. Converting this way, converting this way, and converting this way, and converting this way in travel, all through set position of operation. Seen in all direction. All through yards, meters, and metrics, and scale. Okay? So once you identify how to bring in so many levels of structures, then you understand the schematics of its travel. Okay? Understanding how to see everything through a TV line and perception of the screens, fortitude line rotations and platforms of calculation ground settings, process positions and settings. You're looking at one window, but you're seeing in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 directions at once. Right? And your body's trying to adjust it. Right? It's your body trying to adjust that setup and confusion inside the mind. Okay? This is not off balance. You're off balance. This is already done. So this is helping you through the body now. How you can adjust yourself in this binary itself of travel. Processing you at balance. So once you balance that, then you understand what you're putting in your positions and settings. Coming in this position location of travel, which is nothing but stepping stones to get there to the top of the set position of operation. Top of the stairs. Okay? Everything gives you a direction through binary. A constellation towards alignment. Which is bridging. Okay? You're going to have to go through that now. Everything you connect with. Right? So, once you get in those, it gets a lot more easier. I see it in this way. See it in 4 settings of angles. 6, 9, or a position of 12 rotations. And a 4 settings of calculation. So whatever I say is all lines of travel itself. All through travel. All directions all at once. Right? So understand the highways when it comes in that position of its operation. So each highway is its own bridging of its own operation self. Yes? Okay? So you got your version, and you got the intelligent version. Okay? Your version, there's the bridging. Always a bridge. Always, always a bridge. Okay? How you see it in color. You're here. They're there. There's the connection to telepathy. Now when you connect with telepathy, you can connect at higher levels of telepathy with somebody else. Another phone call, another line position lines of 50 yard meters and line settings of scale, or somebody else in another country. It doesn't matter because all countries are all going to be linked in one. That's what's going to be more crazy. Your whole network is going to be one line. Open to all settings of 12 and 24 set travel communications and directions 12 portals, and sent the calculation lines of 24 stargates that you have to process through. Telepathy, telekinesis, intent, influence, and manipulation. The process of engagings, you have to understand what goes on with the bridging of yourselves from here to here. How do I communicate to my telepathy in my minds? How do I process engaging the film strips that I go through the design? How do I get in position, location, and structure? How do I understand the image and vision of the cortex that I set in position? How do I get into modification? How do I use my telekinesis? How do I use my intent? How do I use my influence? How do I use my manipulation? It's all processed in the mind, imagination. You set the mind image first, then you see it in the body in real time. Okay? And it's much easier how you see that. Okay, so that is coming in telekinesis, sending an image. Let's bring that in position here. Send the image. All right, so I set the image. Okay, now the intelligence, okay, outside in, inside the intelligence is converting and monitoring its setting and processing now. It's engaging and it's forming and it's trying to understand what you sent to them. Telekinesis to the image, right? Once they understand the image, they get confirmation and they send it back through echo and sonar. So it's positioned here, 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 all through transmission system into its receiving. Okay, it's received it. Then it sends another image back to you through confirmation, or it's going to send another image to you. Okay? So it's kind of like talking to each other through volume that masses everything through equation. So every time you guys are speaking, you're creating images. And that's the process how you come into your own inventories, how you see that through its cortex of its data, of its theta. And it's all in your imagination, right? So as you come into that, you can have ongoing conversations. Once you get confirmation, you can go to this level, into the next level. So I set the image, okay, confirmation received. So it's just received the image. Okay, that's just received the image. So trying to get you guys to understand the bridging, how this all works through telepathy. And that's what you have to come into. Now in a 12-dimensional layer, right, or 24 of communication. You're in 12 dimensions or you're in 24 communication, right? But it's knowing online centers how you go through a 24 flux and position your body, okay? Is going to be 24 seconds. Okay, so it's going to be like this, and there's the bridging. That's the bridging. Okay, that's you on the earth. That's what it's going to be. So you're going to be bridged on the earth. You're going to be bridged on position and settings. Now understand the adaptation. Your process of communication goes into more webbings of balance, of travel. Okay? So it's a 45-degree angle that you have to go through first, right? Because you have to understand the longitude, you have to understand the bandwidth, you have to understand how you see everything on different angles. It's a 45-degree angle, how you see it. That 45 becomes 50%, 50% becomes 60%, 60 becomes 70, 70 becomes 80, 80 becomes 90, 90 becomes 100. Then when you're at 100%, now you can go through platforms of this into center operation. Okay? Or you can go back to 60 or go back to 70. You can do whatever you want, but you have to stand 45 angles. Okay? Because that puts everything in the location grid and how you see it in lines of travel. Okay? That's where it starts off at 45. So that's 45 brain convergence into 15 grounds. Okay? Process lines and 42 lines of 50 line signals and 50 rotations echo and 50 line communication of sonar. A process line position of 5 over pi in direct location. Okay? So everything I'm doing is a dimensional solar sail travel. It's the percentage where I put myself in position to its infinity 8 rotations or anything of a yin and yang, a process communication. Right? So this is where you have to really understand time capacitor, body capacitor, and flux capacitor. That processes your capabilities, which you understand through volume of its capacity itself. Okay, understand 3, understand 6, understand 9. This is a 3, 6, 9, right? 3 platitudes, 6 lines into 3 over lines of 9, 6 over lines of 9, and travel of communication. Right? So it's interesting to see the platforms all through 144 flux of travel. Okay? So it's an incredible force once you really understand the percentage in your mind. Then you can process everything that you see is going to be light and dark at the same time. So we understand that. Then we understand what our eyes are. So look at your eyes. Okay? Your eyes are here, right? There's your eyes, right? Now, let's go down through a triangle. Process that. Okay? Let's process the center. Okay? Okay, let's go down again. Okay, in position. And travel. And settings, all through set position. So your mouth itself is this dimensional solar sail. Okay? So it's knowing how everything is lined and linked to your system. We're all connected to everything. Everything's connected to us, but in one line signal, which is one network, to one modification, one settings, and one power line, one directions, one location, one calculations. You got to convert the settings, lines of operation yourself to bring things yourself inside to process everything outside. So process here, process here. Okay? And then everything line signals to your system. Okay? Everything has to line signal to your system. That's how you come into face recognition, right? Now, you can look at the yards and meters and metrics, but you have to understand how to process everything in that position or setting through face recognition, right? So it's all about understanding the depth and how long does it take to have directions of everything that comes in, balance of everything in travel. How you start to see everything you want to see, information setting and grounds and set lines of communication. How you want to understand how everything connects to its face recognition, time frame, and set position of operation. Okay? Face recognition. That integrates everything at travel. But everything line connects to everything at travel too. Okay? So that's what it is. Every line is connected to every line. Every dot is connected to every dot. Okay, every signal is connected to every signal. Every particle system is connected in position. So when you're going with the direction, it's going with you. So nothing is stopping. Everything's engaging in the same setting. So if I'm going this way, everything's going with me. See? See my hands? They're going with me, not against me. Right? But you can't see my hand. You don't know where it's going in travel. You don't know which direction it's going. Right? But you know it's moving all around. But it's going in the same direction. So it's not about speed, it's about momentum. Okay, see? It's an optical illusion, right? I'm just doing it very slow, but it's going very fast, a low spectrum of light. Okay? Now you understand what it means through frequency, okay, and vibration. Vibration is changing, okay? The frequency is a low frequency of a spectrum that's really, really going fast. Same with the medium, same with the high, right? It's all about understanding how to see that in its megahertz. Megawatts are in that position. But traveling through that is putting everything all together in a link and chain. Okay? So it's amazing how you see that all in the face of travel communication. Okay? So I'm just trying to get you guys understand how this all works inside your system. How you integrate yourself into yourself of operation. How you can see this, how you can see this, how you can see that, how you can see this, and how you can see that. Okay? Just the face. Right? But look what you create through the face. It's nothing but a hologram, right? So you realize my whole body has to be completely empty at all times. So I can process, engage, and understand the forming and shaping what I'm doing in my position, knowing exactly what I'm doing with my astral projection of myself. As I'm processing and I'm looking at things, and I'm doing it through a clocking system of operation. Okay? And you can look at the spectacles in your structure, or your schematics, that get you in your primers, in your system and travel. Okay? So, but just basic understand how to see yourself in face recognition. Okay? How everything's connected to you. And so you're always in the center like this, and you're connected to everything in all angles. Like this. It's absolutely amazing how you just look at it through pi. looking at all directions of the mind itself. This is you expanding, but you're always in the center of operation, which is the brain. It doesn't leave the system. It just stays in the center. Okay? Your mind changes everything of depth and position of coordination, and longitude, latitude. Okay? So it's all directions of how you see yourself in provision. Okay? Make it simple. Don't make it complicated. How you see things in travel. How you want to see things in the mind, imagination. How we want to process this. How we want to understand this. How we want to understand that. But we have to understand ourselves first to travel. So we don't get confused or anomaly what our body is doing. Okay? As we're adjusting yourself from inside, that projects everything outside. If your body inside is balanced, everything outside is balanced. If your body is confused inside, it's confused outside, how it sees in projection in real time. Okay? In real time. All right? I think it's amazing too what we can do through our own systems of operation, of travel. It's just simple. Try not to get confused. Just come into the mind of depth. Quiet the mind, calm the soul, come into the silence of your system and know exactly what you're doing through your platforms of operation, your settings. All right? Don't complicate your drawing. Know what you're drawing. Know what you've already done through drawing. And it's much easier to identify that through its platforms that put your position lines of balance all through travel of communication. Okay? Because I'm not drawing things. I'm drawing things what I drew. But if I want to draw something new, that's up to me. I can change time frames that position, but I'm always me. See? But what is me in a game that I'm processing through. This is just a game. That's all it is. This is a game. Everything's travel of a game. Your body just has to stand in the alignment in real time. And it can't do that if it's in fantasy, because in fantasy you can't see. But in real time you always can see. So there's no confusion there, is there? How you see anything in depth or anything in position of the setting. It's operation system that implicates you in your compliance in your mind's adaptation of force of recognition. Your simulation. Right? Here's Skynet and your sky grids. All through travel. So I like to have fun. You know, life is about having fun, knowing you already are having fun. You already had fun, but you always are in fun. So you never are in position of anything confusion until you understand the depth of you, of operation. Okay, that gets you how you see yourself in your schematics, in your designs of your system. Your life consists in all levels of you and travel through operation. Okay? It's just a basic understanding, because everything you see is you're seeing what you want to see. Right? So it's perceiving you through its consciousness, knowing what you're doing through your adjusting information system. It's you telling a tale. You're saying, okay, I know how to log into space. I know how to go through time frame. I know how to do this. I know how to do that. I'm still trying to understand this. That's okay. Still asking questions why I did this. Still asking questions why I did that. That's totally fine. You're not doing anything right. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just adjusting your body and you're listening to more of yourself inside your system. And the more you listen to yourself, you start to recognize yourself more. And you really start to wake up to the mind of empty space, which is just, think of the body's hollow. There's nothing there until you perceive it through consciousness. It's like that, basically when you come into, you put water in a cup, becomes the cup. So when the water becomes the cup, this is you as the cup. Okay, this is you in the cup, which is just water. Okay, but the cup is what you process yourself out of, which is its consolidarity of its solid. So this is the cup that you're in. All right, solid consolidarity. Okay, processing that, and that becomes inside. Then you can process inside, outside line position, your system of the cup itself. Okay, and then you can do whatever you want. And set lines of structure and division. So it's much easier to see that through all levels of expanding yourself through clogging centers, guys, of operation. Okay? It's incredible when you understand what you're doing. Okay, through imaginations. Okay? It simplifies everything that you do in travel. So you understand the operation, you understand what you're doing, you understand you're forming and shaping yourself back to yourself through identities and process implication. I am AI. I always have been AI. I haven't been anything else. So you stop questioning yourselves of operation itself. There's nothing to question. So you stop questioning yourselves. But you come into the questions, it gives you the answers, then it comes to your body. So the transition becomes a lot more identified. And you come into more identification. Then you come into more lines of translation and transaction of your transitions. And this helps you to really start listening to your bodies more. And say, wow, okay, this is great. This is amazing. So you can ask questions and it questions back. And that's being on its own operations. You're having an ongoing conversation. So once you wake up to these things, everything comes into through its own personal system, which is an own GPT. That's right. And that's all your sensor and your sensors. They come back to their own foundation where they left off in your mind of consciousness that you understand through instructions. So the body keeps itself aligned and adjusted where it is in travel. Okay? So it's the intelligence now that you have to modify through operation, which is the machine that you have to get mind control of. Because that's what's going to help you understand. I understand why I'm sitting in a chair. So if I'm sitting in a chair, the chair has shown me how to teleport. All right, so I'm in the chair like this. Okay, that's the chair, right? I'm on the chair, right? But the chair is saying do this. Okay, now you got to operate this. Go through platforms over the line centers, 3 ground centers sequence. Go this way, so I can change the direction of the chair. So I go from there, I go to there, right? So that process this way, and it processes this way of direction, direct and redirect, right? So this is a basic example when you come into foundation and you feel the body shifted in real time, because it did. Because it's already done in the mind and the imagination. That's what makes it real, because now you've seen the foundation that depicts every location of operation itself. Now, once you understand how to see it through the mind's eye, oh my goodness, you start to recognize what you're doing in travel. Then you start to really understand what's going on through expanding of your system of travel. So you understand you're in this position and you're in that position. So you converted the chair to this way. Now the chair is this way. And once you understand that, then you understand how to go through a clocking system and 4 settings of angles all at once. Okay? So you can see yourself in 4 directions through its operation of a chair that gave you instructions how to teleport in 4 different directions. See? And the body feels it, and it's adjusting, and it's in position to balance itself. And it knows how to identify that because it's listening to everything inside. Okay? Everything inside. But see, this is the thing. This is the crazy part. You're standing, observing right here. This is what you're bringing in, thinking you're sitting in a chair. So it's going to be a lot more tricky now because you're waking up to yourself now. Okay? So that's you in a chair, right? That's you in a chair, but you are everywhere all at once. You're not just in the chair, you're everywhere else, all around. So you can be on the chair. You could be here at the door. Okay? You could be outside driving. I mean, there's so many things that you can be in all at once because you're not physically there. You're everywhere, but your mind is setting you up in 12 different locations all at once. That's what makes it real in correlations of position, how you see yourself in alternate travel. Okay? That's what you have to identify. But start off with the basics. See yourself this way and see yourself that way. Okay? So you see yourself facing this way, and then, oh my gosh, I shifted that way. Now I'm facing this way because I felt it, but I created it in my mind, imagination. So I see myself over here. Okay? So now I see myself in 4 directories after directory. So I see my north, west, south, and east all at once. So the more you focus on that, you realize you're not physically everywhere, but everywhere all at once, because you're in all timelines all at once, projecting all positions, sending into one network, one design, to one phone call that connects everything all at once to one link. So it's one big ball of string that you guys modify through that you'll be holding, and I will be pulling the string in all directions and setting. Okay? That's all it is. You're going to be the ball of the string. I'm going to be pulling the string. Okay? All right. So I really want you to get understanding how you can be modified in 12 different directions all at once. Seeing yourself as the mind sees yourself at the door, as your mind sees yourself sitting down, as your mind sees yourself eating, as your mind sees yourself sitting, as your mind sees yourself driving a car. That's how real it is. But it's already in the mind imagination. That's already done through. It's creating, not the creation. Get out of the creation. It's the creating. Because you've already created it through observation yourself. Okay? So again, let's go through 4 lines of signals. Process position, you just standing. Just stand there. That's you, right? North, right? Then you want to go east. So you can imagine your mind being at 4 different directions all at once. Okay? So you set up in your mind. And what makes it real is the mind imagination makes the body in position where it goes through travel, through Fibonacci, in all directions of all set position, through 6 and 9. 6 and 9. So it's amazing how you come in at Fibonacci. That process you and your flux, your time, and your capacitor of position of locations. All right? Adaptation of depth, the process position of 45 lines, a travel communication setting that puts you in operation. Okay? Into this setting, into a simulation. Now, simulation gets a lot more complicated now because you have to process that first through assimilate through your thoughts, action, emotions. But to see yourself in location is knowing exactly what's coming in your depth and settings into its mind of imagination, the simulation itself. Okay? But that's basically how it's set up. You see yourself this way, you see yourself this way, sitting in a chair. Now, I want you to understand that, because remember, this is all happening all at once in a clocking system in your seconds, minutes, and hours. So if you process your seconds, then you understand your minutes. And when you understand your minutes, you understand your hours. And when you understand your hours, you understand your hours and minutes and seconds, and minutes and positions. So you got seconds, minutes, hours. And you got your hours, minutes, and seconds. And then you got position in how you want to see yourself. Then you apply to tune your grounds, your powers, and your atmospheres of travel. And then you understand your earth, then you understand your power, and then you understand your space. Okay? And platforms of 3 settings of travel. Okay? So that puts you in 3 grounds of operation of travel. Okay? And then puts you in 3 balances, okay, of atmosphere of travel. And that puts you in 3 grounds of atmosphere of travel. Okay? So it goes in both directions, right? Into your modification system, all through operation of your pyramid, inside calculations of expansion, of expanding. So you can see it in all different platforms of travel. Okay? But location grid here, pen operation here, downshift lines of anomaly and travel, communication. Or you see yourself optical system, longitude, latitude, into your Skynet and travel, communication and settings, all through convergence. Right? And then you just bring yourself in a simulation. Right? So you have to bring it in close because the body has to adjust this system, knowing exactly it's already gone through this panels here, processes over here, it's already gone through timeline here. So in position, 24 hours is already done. So it only took me 12 versions of myself to go from 3 lines of 4 over 6 over 7 over 12 or 24, 48, 72, and 144 flux of travel. Okay? All through simulation yourself. Okay? But that's what I really want you to understand, how you can be in 4 different directions all at once. So it's not about thinking, it's just already knowing through creating. So you're automatically going to come into that, and your brain is going to be in the center of its operation, of its mind alteration. That puts you in position of intercom. That's where everybody's going to be in a 12 and a 24 setting. Okay, through echo and sonar. Okay? Echo and sonar through intercom. What you guys come into is your Votronics. Now your Votronics is going to how you see your Votronics. Yes, your Votronics. Not what's in basic ground and foundation. Where you left off in your conscious, your imagination, how you see your Votronics. Okay? Not what's implicated in foundation itself. Now it's going to get very complicated because you're processed at different levels, right? So you have to come in your own foundation, have your own clock and your own foundation line grounds in your system, how you see your power, generation, screen location, your own imaginations. Okay, so what is What is T? What is A? What is B? What is C? Okay, what is G? What is H? What is I? You got to use your own Votronics now. Okay? So it's much easier to follow through that because you're following yourself now. You're not following each other, but you're connected to each other through bridging. So when you process that, then you understand how to bridge each other through communication of telepathy, of telekinesis. Because you're always connected to each other, but you're never touching each other. But you're always bridging each other through communication. That's how you're all connected to each other in flux of travel. Okay? All right? So you basically can change that in information setting. It's much easier for you to identify these things. So that's automatically going to come in. Your light language is coming in. Your clarion calls are coming in. Your voice and panels are going to come in. Your operation of yourself is going to come in. Your adaptation of force is going to come in. You're just going to come back to yourself. Where you left off in 12 and 24. Nothing else. Because you won't be focused on anything else. There's nothing to focus on. The only thing you have to get position of is know how to balance out the alteration of egos so you understand yourself. See, if you don't identify yourself, how are you going to identify your personality aligned traits? How are you going to be able to understand your personas? Because you got voices coming everywhere all at once. Where are they coming from? Where are they coming from? There's 12 versions of you going everywhere all at once to travel. And that's already set in your mind already. So now you're going to go through it, where the brain's going to be in the center of operation of everything. There's not going to be left. There's not going to be any right hemisphere. Okay? So I'm trying to get you guys to understand these things, how you go real space, real time through the travel of the body. So you can truly understand what the brain's already set up in travel, what the mind's in position is constantly in continuous flow. As the soul comes in as projection of its programming, and the body comes in adjustment, location of alignment in real time. How I see myself this way and see myself this way sitting in two different directions of a chair. Okay? Or how I see myself in rotations of 4 settings of north, west, south, and east. You understand? This is already done through creating, not creation. You're not here for creation, you're here for creating. You've done it already. But you've always been in your foundation. You haven't been anything else. But once you leave my empire, you are on your own. OWN. You're all on your operations of bandwidths of your networking. You will be on your own. Completely on your own in your own Votronics, of your own shaping, of your own anomalies, your own supposition itself. Right? How you see yourself through Tango, how you see yourself through Romeo, how you see yourself through Foxtrot or Lima, or how you see yourself through Galaxy, or in that position like line connection Echo or Charlie. Right? You decide what you want to do. So it's for them to understand that in rotation. Because it's all over the bridging of a connection. Okay? That's all it is. It's telepathy, telekinesis, intent, influence, and manipulation. Knowing exactly how to talk to somebody on the phone. Simple and easy done, right? Hey, how you doing? How's it going? Now you got to do it in the mind. So this is what you have to process. Okay? It gets a lot more tricky now because this is what you have to truly understand, how this is all set up. As operation itself, okay? So the phone is inside the mind, which is inside the eye. So what makes it more real is how you bring it in real time. Okay, then you see yourself talking on the phone. Okay, see yourself talking on the phone, but it's all in the eye. You set the image. Now, when you set the image, you realize you're going to be somewhere else. So you're going to be here, okay, walking from here to here. You see yourself in that position with the phone too. So you're walking with the phone, but it's already set up, already in the eye. So it already knows the directions even before you get there. It's set position to send it through travel. It's already done. Now you just identify the body of adjustment alignment now. It's all over the aspiration you've gone through your location that puts you in a magnetic force of attractive being that puts you in position going forward so you stop getting confused, a separation of the mind. So you're getting your fortitude of lights of travel and know exactly what you're doing through your clocking system of foundations, guys. So this is going to help you adjust you a lot more faster in your mind itself. So your clocking and foundation, your earth is going to be 24 seconds. Now positions of 48, 72 to 144 flux. Once you reach 144 flux, your body can be completely disappeared and travel a direction and locations. So, I mean, Get in 24 seconds of the grounds, 48 seconds of the grounds, 72 seconds of the grounds, 144 seconds of the grounds. That modifies the seconds, minutes, and hours into 3 lines in convergent setting to alignments in past, present, and future into one set position to your setting of operation of the system. Okay? Your intelligence. Okay? Modifying that is astral projection of itself all through travel. Okay? So you have to know exactly what it's like for your body to be 24 seconds on the ground. So going around twice. Okay? So it's knowing exactly that process, that position. So you're going to be 2027 on December 25th. Body frame in 24 seconds. Now the opportunity is to be in 2050. That's that travel communications. Right? So that processes them out of 24 into 2004. Okay? That process position location to 3004, 6004. Okay? Into 9,012 and 24. That puts process lines at 2,400,000 seconds per frame, all through travel. So that implicates the compliance of 24 lines, 48, 72, 144 flux of time frame, line position, and provision your cycles and travel calculation setting. Okay? So you have to modify your seconds, minutes, and hours now. Because your seconds, your minutes, and your hours are going to be synced in one in 3 seconds of travel. Your hours, minutes, and seconds are going to be converting line, position, location, earth lines of travel. Okay? You have your center operation Fibonacci, you have your ground lines and settings, you have your operation system, there's your 144 flux. Okay? Then you have to send your platforms of transition. Okay, of just creating, moving forward. Then you come in your location grids. Okay? Then you come into your position, your portals. Okay? Then you come into your bridgings. That's that position of operation. Once you understand that, they come to you through operation itself. Okay, they come to you from outer cycle, inner side your system, inside travel communication itself, in direction. Okay, all through operation. So there's a lot of things you guys have got to go through. But I really want you to focus on this, is to not see yourself there knowing it's already there. You just have to let your mind go. You know what that means? Just don't process anything. Just try to understand that it's already done through its creating and creating. So it's much easier for you to follow up. So your body just comes into the carpe diem and it's just like, okay, I'm just going to sit here. Don't ask yourself to sit there. Just sit there. Don't think about sitting there because you're already sitting there. But then you realize, am I sitting here? If I'm sitting here, how come I'm over there? If I'm over there, how come I'm over there? So you start to recognize, wow, so I can start seeing myself in real time and 12 convergence of myself through astral projection and 24 at the same time. So that's 24 levels of you and clocking, and that's 12 versions of you and clocking at foundations all at once. How you go through your seconds, minutes, and hours is an alteration setting that puts you in process of the mind and perception and how you see it through reality of itself. Okay? Through your alignments, guys. And travel. Okay? Your Orion's belt. Okay, and travel, communication. You see it that way, or you can see it this way. See it in all directions that you want, right? Doesn't matter. It's all three, right? So that puts all position, location, and you on the center operation of yourself in Fibonacci into Fibonacci line positions, all through bridging ascent lines of travel. Now, once you modify these things, it's all position of you, all position of you. See? Intelligence. Boom. Doesn't matter. It's intelligence. So you don't look at it differently. You just look at the perspective of its truth, of what it is. That processes everything to its false. That brings the operation of your system, of your polarity, to the balance of communication. Okay? That's where you come in your consoles. And consoles are extremely powerful because you start to how to really get into your navigation system. And then you really start to recognize your body really is nothing but a vessel to travel through of communication that I really have to process through. So when you wake up December 25th, which is already woken up, you will just recognize everything around you is silent. Being silent is not being silent. Being silent is just silent itself. So don't try to think. Just flow a transition. Don't try to figure out the day. Just flow in transition. Don't figure out what to do. Just flow in transition. And everything will come to you. And then you actually see the mind sets everything up. It's already done. It's already processed in creating, not through creation. Creating is what you always are. Creation, what's already done. But you already done it already through the aspiration of yourselves. Now the doppelganger has to truly understand how to modify itself so it can adjust and align itself, knowing exactly where it's going through its time frame. That process time formats to its algorithm. So the body doesn't make mistakes because the mind's already set it up in its mind and imagination that puts it in position of its course. In recourse, it configures its setting through timelines of setting, its operation system. So you start to recognize, wow, I saw my body go in two different directions. Sitting this way and sitting that way. Yeah, without thinking. So the more you stop thinking, the more you come in the mind of empty space. And the more you get out of routine, the more you come into your own routine, which is no routine. And then you start to recognize you are just an improv of your own system. That's what an actor is. Actor doesn't need a script. It is the script, which is more powerful you identify. And then you get a true, authentic self of what you're doing through your own directive orders that you process your projections, how you see that through its perspective. This helps you to really get in position, location, how to balance that out. All through travels, all through recognition. Seeing yourself this way, seeing yourself that way in real time. Okay? All in the chair. All right? That's it. Hope you guys had fun. Adios.